Hi, I'm Michael Bean, and this is your free lesson for myfreeactingclass.com for what's today? Tuesday, April the 20th. So today is our self-tape review. So we've got a couple of self-tapes that I want to go over in some detail, and I am excited to show them both to you and talk about them. One from the person named Naz, I believe is the way that he signed his email, in the UK, who's like, I've been watching the lessons and like, here's my first self-tape. So I'm very excited to have a brand new one. And then Dia, doing a warrior and future queen self-tape, sent a couple of options. So we're going to look at those. The Natalia, whose tape we reviewed I reviewed last week, uh, sent sent an email saying, "Oh, I took your notes and I did another tape, but it didn't come through." So next week we'll review Natalia's notes. But I was very excited about that because that's one more example of like we've seen from Christina and Candy, who show up here in the lessons all the time. One more example of somebody sort of bringing in something for practice or submitting something, and then taking the notes away and doing it again. And I get excited about that because I want class to be a place that you can sort of not just share your things and get feedback, but also use for your practice. My hope is always to support you in continuing to figure this out and take charge of the process yourself. So quick review of camera technique. This is the frame. It's what the camera sees. This is what's called a medium close-up that I'm in right now, because you can see top of my head, no headroom, top of my head to just down below my armpits, right? So about mid chest line. That is the medium close-up. So if there's action, you just keep it out of the frame. You're like, here's the nuclear detonator, and not here's the nuclear detonator, because then you can see that there's nothing in my hand. This is what's called a medium shot. Actors often want to do their tapes in medium shots. Don't. Get up as nice and close so that we can see your eyeballs. You want to make sure you've got a light reflected in your eyes. That is this eye light. If I turn mine off, you can see suddenly I'm dead inside. And so you always want to make sure that you've got an eye light. And now your eye line. Right now, my eye line is right at you because I'm talking to you. But ideally, in your scene, you're not looking right into the eyes of the audience. Very unusual, for actors to be like, looking right into your eyeballs. And so you want to make sure that if you're on Zoom, which I am right now, you get out of full screen, you drag it off to one side, and hey, suddenly I'm looking beside the camera. And this is what we're used to in film and TV. So your eye line, you want it to be close to camera, but not directly at the camera. Unless you are addressing the audience, which is what I am doing right now, is looking right into your eyeballs. So that is frame. Uh, the background obviously is as neutral as possible. Eye light, eye line. That's pretty much the basics. Then there's audio, and you'll see that lighting is very significant. So let's take a quick look at these two self tapes. Both of them were submitted this week. If you have self-tapes, send them to info@myfreeactingclass.com. It's hopefully this is good for you. It's also good for everybody. So thank you for our actors for like being brave and sharing their stuff with us. I will be as supportive as humanly possible in my critique. And if you want the kind of feedback that's like, here's what casting would think of this, then you put that in your email. Give me like, okay, just like give it to me straight. Which we had Murtaza do last week. And I was like, okay, here's me giving it to you straight. If you want that, put that in your email. And otherwise, I'm going to be looking at, okay, let's talk about these technical things, and let's talk about like some things that you could play with, or some things you could be curious about here. Like what might take this tape from where it is, and kind of what's most successful about it, and how can we grow that. So here is the myfreeactingclass.com website. If all you have to do is, once you log on here, jump, oh, right, that's where you find the link. Click here. And if you scroll down, you will find Tuesdays. Email your self-tapes to, boom, just click this and it will take you directly to email. Download this month's practice script. This is the lesson on where we broke down the script, or where I broke down the script in detail. Is from a couple of weeks ago now. So I guess Wednesday before last, but you can find it right on YouTube. And if you click on here, it'll take you to the PDF. So what we've got is, this is Naz's setup. You can see, almost identical color background to me, which I think is fascinating. I mean, what are the others? We have exactly the same wall color in the background, but medium close up, check. Frame, this is great. Eye light, light reflected in the eyes. The eye line is slightly off to one side of the camera. This is the other self-tape we're going to look at. This is Dia's self-tape. Medium close-up, head to just down below the armpits. Eye light, there's some. You can see that there's like a lighting shadow, here, right? So there's this pretty sharp shadow. A lot of the light's coming from this side of her face. We don't have a ton of control always. If it was possible, Dia, this is one of the adjustments that I would say to try and make to your setup, is if you can rotate or turn or get some kind of fill light on this side, even if it is a desk lamp or a floor lamp or something that we're just trying to sort of fill this out so that the shadow on your face is not quite as sharp. Her background is bright blue instead of tan. Does it matter? I don't think so. The reason that film studios use blue screen or green screen, so I have been told, I am not an expert in these things, is that those two colors are not present in human skin tone. So basically the reason they use that like super bright, like blue and green is because then they can tell a computer, hey, this color, take out all of it, and people don't lose any of their face. Now for a self-tape, especially right now, any kind of neutral wall behind you is totally fine, or like a sheet or a backdrop like Dia's got. And you can see that she's taken the wrinkles out, and so there's nothing sort of distracting about her backdrop. We just want our focus to be on your eyeballs as much as possible. So I want to watch a piece of each of these tapes and then talk a little bit about what we see in there.
Hi there. Hi there. My name is Nazuku Owatu. Nazuku, based on a book of African heroism. Owatu, name meaning strength in Arabic. Nazuku Owatu, also the name given to me by my parents. I love my name for what it means and for the fact that it is mine. That is why when I became an actor, I decided my name would remain Nazuku Owatu. Can you start that again, please? Hi, my name is Nazuku Owatu. Nazuku. N-A-Z-E-K. I'm going to call you Nazi. It's more accessible. Your name is too hard for me to announce. I'll just forget it. This is too common an occurrence in casting rooms. Sometimes elsewhere. Should I pronounce my name in a way that would make you feel comfortable? Would I be comfortable? As an actor, I tell the stories of the writer. I embody the souls of others. I constantly play some others. So when I introduce myself, it is the only time I pronounce me. Nazuko Owatu, name which means heroism and strength. Also the name given to me by my parents. You see, I am not the clothes I wear, I am not the degree I hold, I am not the roles I play. These are things I am good at and things I have and things which can be taken away. It's not my name. Nazuko Owatu. Nazuko. Hi, my name is Nazuko Owatu. Nazuko. N-A-Z-E-K-U.
Now, my suspicion is that this is a monologue written by this actor. Either that, or he has chosen a signature, that is the at least his name is the same name that's in the monologue. So that's my assumption, is that that's what we're seeing here. Uh, the what I'm seeing here is something that's really been on my mind this week, which is that the performance, like I believe that this performer, has made clear choices about what's going on, and you can see that it's technically very clean, right? So the setup is beautiful, his voice is very relaxed, face is very relaxed. We're not seeing a lot of extra tension here in the face or in the eyes. He's not pushing to show his feeling. And I think that there's this dynamic tension in performance always, between being believable and being expressive. And so if I was working with Nizuka, I would say, okay, great. What we've got here is a performance where you have like gone all the way into just like completely believable, like dropped back, stripped back, totally believable. Now let's trust that that's there and focus on being expressive. Because especially in these first 15 seconds, and I've talked about this in lessons over the past year, really. I mean, I've been doing these since the beginning of April 2020, but it's just getting progressively more clear to me that if you do not grab people's attention in that first 15, 20 seconds, if you don't give them something that sort of shows off who you are or the story you're telling, or like gives us some kind of detail, then you're essentially counting on your face to grab people, which sometimes works. Sometimes like, oh wow, like this guy looks so interesting. I love his hair, I love his look. I'm watching because it's arresting for me visually, not something that you have a whole lot of control over. Certainly, you have some influence over that, which is why the self-tape setup is important. You know, but let's watch these first, say like 15, 20 seconds again.
Hi there. Hi there. My name is Nazuku Owatu. Nazuku, based on a book of African heroism. Owatu, name meaning strength in Arabic.
Right, and so there's absolutely nothing wrong with this. I just don't understand, like what the objective is, right? So if we were approaching this, from that place of script analysis, like what do you want the other person to do or feel? Is this like a slate, for an audition, where for slating, sometimes I'll get somebody to look right at the camera and say, hey, um, I'm amazing and I'm happy to meet you. And I'm like, okay, great, good. Now say it like you said that. I was like, hey, I'm Michael Bean. I'm 6'1". I'm in Vancouver, BC. Like that's what slates look like for me these days. And you want the energy there to be like, hey, I'm amazing. I'm happy to meet you. I'm looking right at the camera. I'm looking into the eyeballs of the people talking. That's so is that what it is? Because the dialogue that he's got, where he's got somebody else coming in, is a casting director. Now, of course, he's not here to ask these questions. So I'm just throwing this out in the sort of spirit of exploration. That right now we've got this completely believable performance that is all more or less on the same note. Uh, and so from that place, we can just, I would say, like, okay, come on, let's play with this. Let's explore. Let's let this fly. So I tried. Right, so there's some of these little moments, like when the casting director, in his monologue, says something about his name, and we've got, this like, and we've got like a strong reaction here. So this is where I believe that the actor has made choices about his strong feeling or opinion about what is being said to him. Uh, and and so we've got some of these like micro expressions, and particularly what has been on my mind uh, this week, uh, as I've been teaching classes in the last couple of days, is let me see if I can find the simplest possible language to explain this thing that is on my mind, which is finding a doing uh, that gives you an opportunity to express that feeling, right? So basically, finding behavior that's inside the place that you're in, that is as normal and human as possible, that lets you express the behavior. Because otherwise, the risk is that we're going to get into choreography. The risk is that, like, I'm having a conversation with Dia, and I'm like, oh, my character is scared, and so and I was actually did a tape this weekend, where it was like The character was supposed to be very intimidated, by the woman he was having dinner with. Like, this is the bad first date. Like, just get me out of here. And so I had an opportunity to play with this, not just for my students, but also for myself. And so initially, of course, I wanted to get into results. I wanted to get into like, oh, how do I show that? Right. Oh, yeah. My sense of that is like scared, so I'm going to look away, or I'm going to like move back a little bit, and the ultimately when I taped it, that didn't read right. I looked at it and was like, okay, I can see that I am showing, right? Like the idea is there, the strong choice or feeling, is there, the strong feeling or opinion rather is there. So there is a clear choice about it. But now if I'm actually in a restaurant, me, Michael Bean, is actually in a restaurant, what have I got around me? Okay, I've got my glasses. And I've got, like the empty cup from the drink that I drank really fast because I just want to like get out of here. And I've got maybe my napkin, and all of those are things that I can potentially access as a place to put that feeling or choice, so that it doesn't become, here's what I'm going to try and do with my face. It becomes, here's what I'm just doing. I'm just going to sit here and twist this napkin and wish that this was over. I'm just going to clean my glasses for the fifth time, or finish my drink and swirl the ice cubes and look hopefully for the waitress to see that I'm done so that she'll bring the bill. But all of those are doings. They're things to do in a place that I am in. And so it comes from that kind of given circumstances of, who are you? Where are you? That just making those where choices, and then bringing the kinds of simple physical, like sort of props, things, actions that are around you, gives you an outlet for that feeling. And Christina, this has come up when we've looked at your tapes a number of times, right? That you've got these really clear, strong choices, and then you end up sort of not knowing where to put them, and so you sort of indicate them. You're like, okay, so feelings, here they are, and I'm always like, great, great, the choice is great. Now do a thing. Okay, let's watch Dia's tape. Dia, because you sent 3 takes of it and it's a 2-minute scene, we're just gonna watch one take of it. But then what I'm going to do is go back and we'll watch just like the first little bit of each of all 3 takes, so that you can see, is there really a difference? Like, and of course you can see the difference because you're you, and you're like, it's subtle, it's present, it's there. I can't really see it. I'm sorry. Like they're almost identical. So let's go look at those.
Lower your weapon slowly. Who are you?
Zeus, border control. Borderline is not allowed.
Okay, this is such an incredibly specific thing, Dia. But whoever your reader is has a beautiful voice. Like, he's very interesting to listen to. I think almost in a problematic way. Like like he's got this cool accent. His voice is really deep. And I'm like, oh yeah, I believe that this guy's like being cast as opposite as you as a warrior. And I don't think that's ever come up in a self-tape where I'm like he's just so interesting. You might want to swap him out for another friend. Just throwing that out there.
What are you doing here?
We're just scavenging.
There's a lot of weapons you've got there for scavengers, and a laser shooter isn't particularly useful here unless you plan to blow a hole in his ship.
So what Dia told me about this, sorry, on Flat View Frame, also on Flat View Frame.
Abandoned ships.
There we go. What Dia told me about this in advance is that she didn't know very much about the project, and that this character is a warrior, and future queen, and so we're seeing that like in the body posture, in the directness, stillness and eye contact, both read as power. She's playing here, with something that often goes with status, which is like, I don't have to shout at you because like I'm in charge. Like, we've got the weapons here. I'm going to tell you what to do. Right. So that piece I'm seeing you play with it, and I have some ideas about sort of like how we could heighten it here, but I just want to point it out for everybody else.
Compass module.
Critical components have already been there. If you were a real scavenger, you know that. You should go before the gods wonder where I am.
Your kings do not scare us.
I know I caught you by surprise, but I'll be dead already if you want me to be. So tell me, what do you want?
You are taking us to the North Guard Tower.
Never gonna happen. Ask something else. What do you want?
Oh, I think you don't understand. Mr. Border Control, we've been watching you and your king for years. And we know you and your people are incapable of handling a threat like us. You see, we borderliners live under the threat of the old city and your king for centuries.
Right. So clear choice about the strong feeling or opinion, right? Like it's clear, for one of the things there's like, how can we find dynamics in the scene, right? Like, again, you can see that the scene is all very much at the same pace, that there are shifts there, but they're incredibly subtle, the kind of subtle shifts that might be appropriate in like an extreme close-up, but it is possible, Dia, that in that in your desire to be progressively more believable, that that you aren't bringing as much expressiveness into your exploration. You're not giving yourself as much freedom to play in your rehearsal. That ultimately we want a balance of both. So I hope that this is just pointing you in the direction of like, okay, I've got this piece. Can I move on to this? Also, I want you to notice just how slowly you are going through your words. And again, you can hear your readers going da 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 da, pause, da 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 da. I think that the contrast between the rhythm there, can also help illustrate this for you. That very slow pacing has got to be used selectively. Has got to be used selectively as this is information. Like, I'm explaining this to you really slowly because I think you're stupid or something like that. But that you want to do it for a line or two, but probably not for an entire scene.
We know how to use our limited resources wisely. We caught these four while we were watching you. If you don't take us to the North Guard Tower, we'll just use one of them.
There's a fortress. It's not that easy.
Oh, we know all about the fortress. We know you do maintenance work on it. So you're really the perfect person for the job. Shall we?
Right, really fun. Now, there's a moment there, sort of talk about behavior. If you remember that, like just moments ago, she said, we caught these four, but she didn't look at the four. Like, we have no idea where they are. There wasn't a clear like opinion of them. It was all like straight on to this guy with the same pacing and the same tone, and so where are her friends? Right, and none of this is like, none of what she did is wrong, right? Like, it's believable. She's got clear, strong opinions, but I assume you're coming here because you're like, okay, now what else? Like, what else could we add? Like, give me some more weight, coach. And so the more things you have clear relationships to in here, the right, finding those strong relationships, and by relationship I just mean a strong feeling or opinion, and then personalizing that. So did you catch them before you caught this guy? So that you're revealing them. You're like, okay, yeah, bring out the other four. See, we already got these guys. Or like, did you catch them while you were talking to him? In which case, like, your friends are dragging them around the corner as you speak. But like, either way, what's happening? You're like, yeah, no, we caught all these other guys. Check this out. I'm gonna kick their bodies. I'm gonna flip the thing off of them. I'm gonna say, bring them on out. Say like, look, like, we own you, Border Patrol. Like, we got all five of your friends. Like, you got nothing. And where are the moments where you're celebrating your victory? Where you're just enjoying yourself. where you're getting right in his face and intimidating him. It's also very still. It's very back here. So let's say, I'm assuming that like your friends are holding him, or is that they've got crossbows pointed at him? And either one, gives you different physical choices. Like if they're holding him at gunpoint, great. Well, then you probably, then you're not going to get in front of him because you don't want to get shot, but you can still get up to him. And if your friends are holding him, then you can get right up in his face and be like, look, friend, which we can do in self-tapes because we have our little view of ourselves, which we really couldn't before. Before, if I tried to do that in an audition, the camera operator would just go zoop and keep me back in medium close-up. But now, as long as I'm doing it selectively, I can get in there for a line and then come back. And it can be really fun to play with. It's the kind of thing that we see cinematically in film periodically, but now we can use in our self-tapes if we want to. And so I think that there are physical dynamics, there are vocal dynamics, there's pacing here, and then there's sort of specific relationships that you can sort of continue to play with. Who is this guard to you? What is your strong feeling or opinion about him? Aside from the fact that like you just own him, that you're just like, you're worthless, I've got you. I don't think that's enough to carry you through 2 minutes, right? Like and so once you have that strong feeling or opinion, like you're a borderlander, but things are about to change, right? Like we know that you're going to be a queen. We know that you guys are like basically storming the castle, so the more dangerous a choice you make there, the harder you give yourself a job as an actor, but the more interesting you make your work. If this like, that's it, like we're done, taking crap from everybody, like the revolution starts today, like that's kind of how the scene reads to me. And so if that's the case, okay, well then she hasn't done this before ever, right? Like and this is somebody who, right, then you can find that, like, what is it like to be bullied and to finally stand up to the bully, if you understand that? Or what is it like to be looked down on, or underestimated or oppressed, and to finally go like, yeah, not anymore, and to like step into your own power a little bit. How's that feel? And then, yeah, maybe there's a moment where she doesn't talk at all. I mean, if I were taping this with you, I'd give you a weapon. Like, what kind of weapon are you carrying? Now the warrior princess in the old shows had these like weird steel rings. You don't need that. Let's say you have an umbrella, right? Like in your apartment. We're never going to see it anyway. And so, but you start like this. Put down your weapon. Okay, he's put down his weapon. I can put my sword down, and then I can just put it in one hand, and I can get up close to him and I can point it at him, right? So it's not a stunt. It's that extension of physical behavior. And I would say, like, my pure guess is that this slow pacing thing that you did, is your idea of fantasy warrior. And so to me that says that you just probably don't really like this genre, and don't, and or don't watch very much of it. So instead of like trusting that you could be real and they could just dress you in a battle bikini and give you a sword and a bunch of like scarred dudes behind you, and then we get it. We're like, okay, now you just get to be real because wardrobe and casting like did their job. You know what I'm saying? And so with that in mind, let's go look, and like I said, let's look at these other two, like the first few seconds of these other two takes.
Lloyd.
Okay. This is the right one. Gesundheit.
Your weapon. Slowly. Who are you?
Zeus, border control.
Okay, so what are we, 8 seconds?
Borderline is not allowed here on city soil.
Now this framing I do like quite a lot better, right? Like this definitely looks more regal. I'm also not getting as much shit, shadow under your chin, for some reason at this angle. I think just because of where the camera's set up. This one, says queen to me in profile right away. And it is like very relaxed. Sort of you're very calm here. If we jump ahead.
Who are you?
Zeus,
start over then.
And
Lower your weapon. Slowly.
right, so different feeling or opinion. Like, did you make a choice about it? Absolutely, you did. But it's so subtle. It is so subtle because you're counting on that sort of extreme close-up where you're like going to get right inside your head and read your mind. And so, especially to somebody watching this for the first time, because you haven't given us behavior and because you haven't sort of gone all the way with that choice in terms of physicalizing it, right? And it can be as simple as like, this one I'm going to turn up. This one, he hasn't put his weapon down, and I'm going to have to tell my friends to kill him. And then, okay, no, actually, you don't have to kill him. But like, what is that moment before? And can you just like take your choice and then turn it into a doing, that will help tell the story? And so I don't mean to like bend your tapes into the thing that is on my mind this week, but it's really on my mind this week, is because those choices are so wonderful, but then, how are you using what is there and already present in the scene to tell the story? So what was that? What was that first line? It was lower your weapon, something like that, right? And so let's do this. Grab the tripod, the one that's hanging on the wall right behind you. Okay, good. That's your weapon. Like the right, and just hold it out of the frame, so that I can't see it. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Move a little bit closer. And then you can see that her eyeline is straight to camera, but if you just make get out of full screen or just like drag me off to one side, and actually if I do this, whoop, all the way off on the side, that'll do the trick for you too, right? Just enough. And so look at me, and give me the first one, as a lower your weapon. But really snap it at me. Like I've got my weapon and I'm about to hit somebody, and like you just don't want to kill this guy because you need him still. So just make it in order.
Lower your weapon.
Great, excellent, right? So what you gave me in the tape was a 2. What you just gave me was maybe a 3 or 4. Take a risk, give me a 5 or a 6. Go.
Lower your weapon.
Okay, and now that I've lowered my weapon, yeah, that's the end to make sure make that face. We're just like, no, this is too much. Good, but that like shows you where you've got room to grow, right? Is that it's always uncomfortable stepping into new territory. Good, and then now that I've lowered my weapon, now you stand up straight like a queen. You're like, yeah, that's right. You did what I told you to do, and we own you. And then you look at your friends, like beside you, like, yeah, we've got him. And then you look back at him and you like, and straighten your head, because right now your head's off crooked. Straighten your head. Yeah, and that makes a huge difference. And your head wasn't crooked in the scene because you had time to prep it, and I wasn't putting you on the spot. Right, but it's something as simple as that. And then we could add physical behavior to the top of it. And does it help you to like hold the tripod in your hand? Maybe. Now hold it off to one side and just plant it on the ground like that. Yeah, good. And then just keep your hand and then move it just a little bit so I can't see it anymore. Good. And now she's carrying her like staff of rulership. And now say the line, to me, and everybody looked at this behavior of like, boom, her hand is there. What does that do to her? Say the line.
Lower your weapon.
Right? Exactly. And so right away, we see more of I am a warrior, not I am an actor. Right. So there are lots of ways, to use this that don't involve you like trying to pretend that your tripod is a sword, but just use physical behavior. So, okay. Thanks so much for, playing with me. And of course, like we could go, line by line with it, but okay. Kept you a little bit over time, but I was excited to teach you lots of stuff like normal. Tomorrow, I think I'm going to be on the road, so tomorrow's going to be an Ask Me Anything. So please bring your good questions, because I want to turn the camera on you as much as possible, so that you don't have to witness me and my car. And then we'll be back with even more self-tape review next week. So Dia, if you wanted to, basically if you were excited about like playing with this and you wanted to take the notes from today and just do another recording of this scene, that would be a perfect way for you to explore, especially now that the audition itself is done, right? So you literally have nothing to lose, by like picking up the pace, and taking those choices and going like, okay, how can I take those choices that are already there and go all the way with some of them?
I actually got a callback.
Oh my God. Yes, see? Right? Like that first take, she just looks so much like a warrior queen. They're like, yeah, this girl. Oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
So yeah, I've got a callback. So I need to, it's a different scene, but in the same category. So I'm definitely like, this is extremely, extremely helpful.
Great. Well, that's and that's exciting for everybody else too, right? The tape, right? So you heard me like give extensive notes on this tape. Here's like 100 different things you could try, and then what does Dia say? She's like, well, yeah, and this is one that got me a callback, right? So it's not about perfect. Like if you needed more proof that your tapes don't need to be perfect, there it is. Right? I want to get you excited as artists about all the things that you can play with and all the things that you can add to your tape, because ongoing learning is what honestly keeps me excited as an artist. I'm like, that's what keeps me in the game, and I just can't imagine hitting a point where I'm like, yep, got everything I need, nothing more for me to learn about acting. Which also means that I probably will never like have a like strong line into characters who are like, I know everything, but I'm the boss. Because that's just not who I am, and I haven't spent a whole lot of time there. But I want to see if I can infect you with my love of learning this stuff, so that you can continue to explore and practice. So thanks for joining me and giving me the chance to like try and inspire you today. All right. Dia, if we would love to see your callback, Dave. And anybody who wants to come tomorrow for Ask Me Anything, please do. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. This was awesome.
Thank you.
Very good.
Good job, Dia.
Thank you again to Naz and to Dia for submitting tapes today.